For the past 6 months, I've been eating ground beef, eggs, butter, oranges, pork, yogurt, blueberries, and I was supposed to have an ounce of cheese each day, but I've been having the cheese now, which is disgusting.
That's disgusting.
For like 2 weeks. I'm not a huge cheese lover. Honestly, this cheese is really grossing me out. It's like the worst part of my meal. I'm like kind of mixing my food with the cheese bite just so I don't taste it as much. I couldn't take it. I stopped having the cheese after a couple weeks into this experiment because I don't like cheese. I'm Lillie. I'm a certified nutrition health coach, and 6 months ago, I sat at the computer and spent a whole day mixing and matching different food combinations in a food tracking website called Chronometer to see how I could structure a day of eating that would help me hit all of the recommended daily allowances of vitamins and minerals. I played around with all sorts of different combinations of foods, quantities of foods, and ultimately, in order for me to get all of these vitamins and minerals, get all of these recommended daily allowances in each day, the meal plan I'd have to have each day resulted in 5 quarter-pound burger patties, aka 20 ounces of ground beef, 4 clementines, 3 eggs, a couple tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of yogurt, 4 ounces of pork chop, 1 cup of blueberries, a quarter teaspoon salt, 5,000 IU vitamin D3K2, and magnesium every day. I also had 1 cup of broccoli 1 time a week, and I took vitamin E and copper 2 times a week, and I was supposed to have the cheese 1 ounce each day, but I just couldn't get it in. Now I had the cheese in to help me hit my recommended daily allowance of calcium, and granted, I could have had more yogurt, but I just only want so much yogurt in a day. A cup of yogurt is quite a lot for me, and I do have lactose sensitivity, and so I could have had milk, but I do tend to buy the raw and A2 versions of dairy products, though for me to get that kind of quality of milk where I live, it costs me $20 a gallon, so instead, I landed on having cheese. But it only lasted a couple of weeks before I tapped out and said, you know what, whatever, so be it. My calcium levels on my blood work might be a little bit lower because without the cheese, I was getting in about 60% of the recommended daily allowance for calcium, and I did this for 6 months. However, I just got my blood work done this week and my calcium levels went up. Hey, we'll take it. Before I start confusing people who may have saw in the past 6 months, on my birthday, I had rack of lamb, I've had some sardines, some watermelon, I have had small things here or there, but in the past 6 months, 95% of what I've eaten are these 7 foods, and so I'd think that 95% of my test results would be a reflection of those 7 foods. Now, my favorite thing about my recent blood test results are I'm almost 30. I know. Though the last time I got my blood work done, it said my biological age was 19, meaning based on my heart panel, my liver blood test results, my pancreas, my hormones, my thyroid, based on what my organs were saying and my blood test results, it appeared that my body was functioning like a 19-year-old. Well, fast forward to today, I am actually older, and yet my biological age says I'm 18.
Young man, are you listening to me? I said, young man, what do you wanna be? I said,
People are always surprised that I'm almost 30, considering I look and act like I'm 18, but you know, what can I say? I'm young at heart. And let's talk about my heart. I did an interview with a cardiologist, a heart doctor, and asked him what are the most important markers to look out for to assess cardiovascular risk. And so I'm going to play a short clip with Dr. Philip Obadia talking about those biomarkers, and I'll overlay my personal results on the screen as he's talking. You'll notice that some of the markers improved from last time, which is wild because I already thought my heart markers were pretty great to begin with, but I'm not complaining.
So, I always talk about the 5 basic measures of metabolic health. One is your waist circumference. So you just take the tape measure, you measure at the level of your belly button. And if you're a man, you want that to be less than 40 inches. If you're a woman, you want it to be less than 35 inches. And then number 2 that you can do at home is your blood pressure. You want your blood pressure to be less than 130 on the top number, less than 85 on the bottom number, and that should be without medication. You need to know your fasting blood glucose, so how much sugar is in your blood when you haven't eaten, and that number should be less than 100. Some people will instead use the hemoglobin A1C, which is kind of your average blood sugar over a 3-month period. That one, you want it to be less than 5.7. And then you're going to look at your HDL cholesterol. Most doctors will call that the good cholesterol. And they call it that because you actually do want this to be higher, which can be confusing to people. But you want your HDL to be above 40 if you're a man, and you want it to be above 50 if you're a woman. And then you look at your triglycerides. This we want to be lower. We want it under 150.
Now, I'll share what I believe are the most important markers to assess cardiovascular risk, because my list is a little bit longer than Dr. Philip Ovadia. Though I completely agree, on my list is blood pressure, fasting glucose and A1C, HDL cholesterol, and triglycerides. Though I'd also like to add HDL to triglyceride ratio, where I'd want to see that at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning if my HDL cholesterol was 76 and my triglycerides were 76, that's a 1-to-1 ratio. That's great. Now, my HDL cholesterol actually went up 10 points this time around, which is amazing, and my triglycerides were 46, meaning my HDL to triglyceride ratio is almost 2-to-1, which is mind-boggling. Then I'd want to look out for HSCRP, wanting that below 1. This time around, I cut mine in more than half. My HSCRP is looking like a beauty. I'd test for lipoprotein A, wanting it below 75. Mine was 34. I'd check for homocysteine. Men would want to be below 11.4, women below 10.4, and mine was 4.5, so really good. I'd check for insulin, wanting it below 18.4. Mine did go up a smidgen from last time, still super healthy at 9.7. And lastly, to assess cardiovascular risk, I would test ApoB, wanting it below 90. Now, the last time I had mine tested, mine was 112. Unfortunately, I didn't get mine tested this time around, but over the years, mine has been consistently slightly elevated. Now, depending on the cardiologist and the doctor who you talk to, some say they put very little stock in ApoB. They don't care about that one as much. Personally, I say might as well try to get it lower if you can. Might as well not risk it. Though for me, considering all of my other heart markers, inflammation markers look really, really good, I'm not losing sleep that my ApoB is slightly elevated. Especially when we zoom out even further and take into context my thyroid blood test markers, pancreas health, liver function, kidneys, hormones, blood cell count, urine biomarkers, and immune regulation. Now, I'm not going to go into details with all of my blood tests, but I am going to talk about a few key important ones that I think are most relevant to most people, which the first one being vitamin D. Now, I just looked it up and it says that 41.6% of Americans are low in vitamin D, being lower than 20, which to me, I have talked to a lot of different doctors and healthcare providers, and most say they would want to see vitamin D levels between 60 to 90. So being below 60 would make even more Americans deficient in vitamin D. Mine are like right at 60, and I do take 5,000 IU of vitamin D daily, and I also lay out in the sun anytime I have the chance. I bring this up because I have so many clients and people who tell me, oh, Lillie, my vitamin D levels are fine. They're 30. And, talk to your doctor, but I would try to get my numbers at least to 60, upwards of 90. Vitamin D is so critical for our hormones, our immune system. If someone gets sick often, I used to get sick all of the time, stuffy nose, sore throat, the cough, that's a sign of my immune system not being as strong, and something like vitamin D so helpful for that, as well as for building muscle and just overall feeling good, having great mental clarity, not being as depressed. So many awesome benefits to vitamin D. I would try to get mine between 60 to 90. Another big one is magnesium. It's said that almost half of all US adults are low in magnesium, and I personally take upwards of 500 milligrams of magnesium a day, and yet my magnesium levels are in the healthy range but a little bit below the middle. I bring this up because like I said, I'm taking 500 milligrams of magnesium, which is quite a lot. I have a lot of clients who are taking either 0 or maybe 100, 200 milligrams of magnesium. And magnesium is so critical for our heart health, the rhythm of our heart, our nerve function, our stress, our sleep. And so I can't harp on it enough because it's so important. And studies are showing that nearly half of Americans are low in magnesium. The magnesium product I take is through Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough, who is today's video sponsor. This is the only brand on the market that has 7 forms of magnesium in it. So yes, it's got magnesium glycinate that can help with relaxation and sleep. It has magnesium citrate that can help support digestion and relieve constipation. It has malate that can help alleviate chronic pain, depression, and migraines. It has taurate that can be helpful for the heart and blood pressure. To me, this is like my magnesium multivitamin in the sense that it has all these different forms of magnesium that help my body in different ways. And I take 2 capsules at night. You can get 15% off of any of Bioptimizer's products by going to the link in the description, bioptimizers.com/LillieKane, or by using discount code LillieKane at checkout. The next blood test marker I want to cover is my sodium, considering 6 months ago, mine was low. And it was low because for 10 months, leading up to that blood test, I actually stopped adding salt onto my food because I was listening to different opinions online, hearing different people's experiences, saying that when they limited and reduced their salt intake, it helped with their skin health. And I had been struggling with some dry skin on the back of my scalp, and so I figured I would experiment with less sodium. Now, as a result, nothing changed with my skin health. The only thing that changed was my blood test showed that my sodium was low. And so for this past 6 months, I added salt back onto my food and my sodium level is now back in range. Now, I also brought up my sodium to talk about my liver health, as I think my sodium levels were impacting my liver, as last time my ALT, which is a liver enzyme, mine was slightly elevated. Now, this was surprising to me because things that can impact the liver would be drinking alcohol, taking medications, eating lots of ultra-processed foods, high in refined carbs, seed oils, things like soda. Then there's things like environmental toxins like plastics, heavy metals, mold, even poor quality sleep and stress. Things that can help the liver would be taking walks after a meal and strength training. Now, I do those things, though something that most people wouldn't think about impacting the liver would be having an imbalance in electrolytes. And because my sodium was lower last time and my ALT was higher, and this time my sodium is in range and my ALT is now in range and healthy again, I can't help but think that the sodium was impacting my liver. Now, there's no proof, just my hypothesis. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I have eaten very similarly for the past 5 years, and my blood test results have been pretty consistent over the years as well. The main thing I'm working on is my ApoB marker. Considering I had over 100 blood test markers done, 99 of them are where I'd like them to be. And the reason why I wanted to make this video was for a couple of reasons. One, to emphasize that my husband and I don't eat the same thing. There are so many ways to get in your vitamins and minerals. He has less beef, he has more potatoes, he has less butter, he has more olive oil, and so we can do different things, and his blood test results are also great. He also feels good, he has lots of energy, he's sleeping great, he doesn't get sick, he's building muscle, and he's 9 years older than me. He's almost 40. And so again, I just want to emphasize that people don't have to eat the same way. I would spend the time to create your own meal plan in Chronometer. It's free to do this. Or of course, if you would like help with creating a meal plan, I would be more than happy to do that as well. I'll leave a link in the description to my one-on-one health coaching. Though the other reason I want to make this video is that while Chronometer can give a really good idea of where your vitamins and minerals are at, and as we saw, my blood test markers are doing really good, at the same time, Chronometer isn't God, it's not the end-all be-all. The recommended daily allowances may not be 100% accurate, and so while Chronometer is a good target and gives a good idea, as you saw, I was getting about 60% of my calcium in a day, and yet my calcium levels were totally fine. They even went up. Or usually I'm hitting 300 to 400% of my selenium, and yet my blood test shows that while my selenium is usually in range, it tends to be on the lower end of the range, which is, surprising considering I'm having 3 to 400% of the recommended daily allowance of selenium every day for 5 years. So I couldn't emphasize enough the importance of getting blood work done, so that way you can see where should I make changes with what I'm eating, with my sleep, with my movement, with my stress. And I'll put on the screen the list of blood work I would be getting done that provides a better picture of overall metabolic health. And personally, I don't go to a doctor to get these blood test markers tested. I know some of you guys are like, Lillie, I'm nervous to have my doctor run, certain panels in case they're like, here's your statin, or they kind of give pushback on certain things. And so I just bypass the whole doctor route and I just go online to a website called Function Health, where I'm able to order my own blood work. Through their yearly membership, I get 100 plus biomarkers tested, and then 6 months later, I get 60 plus biomarkers tested so I can see how the results have changed over time. And all of that is $4.99, which that's like the best price I have seen on this many biomarkers tested, though Function also gave me a $100 off credit to give to you guys. So if you'd like to get $100 off, then use discount code LillieKane100 or go to the link in the description, functionhealth.com/LillieKane. If you found this video helpful, then don't be silly, subscribe to Lillie, and you're gonna wanna check this video out, which explains how to create your own meal plan to hit all of your vitamins and minerals. It should give you everything you need to figure that out. I hope you have a happy day, and I'll see you soon.